when it comes to Sony, though, PSVR isn't doing too hot right now here.
No, we go from one rumor to something that's actually factual, and the attach rate of PSVR 2s are not doing hot.
That is insane to think about, but it also makes sense too, in a sense, because apparently I haven't seen too many PSVR games that just wowed me. There's probably two, and I can't even remember the title of the other one.
Just, I'm already not the VR guy. I learned from when I went to Level Up that I kind of get motion sick pretty quick from that, or not pretty quick, but I guess what I don't know what's quick, but just everything I've seen in VR, and this is no disrespect to any developers. Like Beat Saber looks fun, Gorn looks fun, all that stuff looks fun, but just everything looks like a tech demo. I understand how early the technology is, but
Yeah.
just nothing looks appealing to me.
Yeah, VR is definitely an interesting place to be at for gaming right now because it's like it's fun. It does what it sets out to do to a degree. Certain things, certain games are kind of like they wow you. Like I've played a few first person shooter games, awesome in how they handle everything. But at the same time, it's just like, damn, it's like you just see where all the flaws in this game are, and it really sucks. And it really doesn't make you want to like invest into VR because of just things like that. And granted, there's not too many banger titles in these things. Like I think for PSV right now, it's Horizon Call of the Mountain, some driving VR game.
Oh, they're not Forza, Gran Turismo.
No, not even that.
Oh, not even that.
This is like some indie style, like survival horror game you're playing.
Oh, that's weird.
Hey, you drive around, you upgrade your car, and you're running from like these weird enemies. I'll put a link in the description down below for the trailer, but I forget what it was called. But that was the only other game that really had my attention. And Horizon Call of the Mountain looked cool. Get a bow and arrow, shoot some robot dinosaurs. Awesome. That's a good experience. They always do pretty good with that game, with that franchise in general. But aside from that, and Hitman VR, there's not much to really, to look forward to these games. PSVR 2 is so expensive; it's $500, and if you don't own a PS5 already, that's another $500. Well, now they're a little bit cheaper. I'll say probably for like 4 or 3, if you can find one that they haven't sold out yet again. But that's almost like $1,000 just to play VR games that aren't great. And mind you, that's not PS4. That's not PSVR. The original one backwards compatible either. That's just PSVR 2.
Mm-hmm. So you're already stuck with a big ass price tag, a very small library, and just nothing to really wow people. It's a shame. It's just, I don't know what else to call it. I don't know what Sony was expecting. I think they were really expecting that VR boom to kick up. This reminds me of way back in the day when the 3DS was a big thing. And remember how hard they were pushing 3D TVs, but then that never kicked off either? I think that's what we're about to do right now.
Look, watch. As a man who owns a 3D TV right now, they're okay. Just barely okay. I've never used glasses in all the years I've had it, but still, it's fun to have.
Right.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know. It's weird because I don't know if it's just Sony is trying to entice developers to make more VR games, or if they're just sitting on a whole heap of creators who want to do that. Because don't get us wrong, there's a VR library there. It's just that compared to like MetaQuest 2's library, they have a lot more games that you can play with, and they have a lot more options. In a sense, which is weird because you would think that there'd be a lot more interest in VR games, especially when like stuff like Sword Art Online was really popular. There's lots of anime games that you would think you'd want to see in VR, but there's a few. Don't get me wrong, but they're kind of like they're almost tech demos / light style experiences, and it's just there's no heavy hitters there that make people want to be like, wow, this is like the pinnacle of like this, like
pretty much. And this is I'm not throwing shade at anybody who enjoys VR or even like whether the VR2 or the MetaQuest, whatever. It's just the MetaQuest is doing better than the VR2 because it's got a cheaper entry point. You technically don't need a PC with it to play it. You can play right out of the box. It's just there's just way too much to come with it, and not a lot of like things is kind of worth the effort right now. Right. It's already hard. Well, okay, it was already hard in the beginning to get the system. Now you need to add another $500 just to like do something you're probably gonna have to set up. Think about it. A lot of people just want to get home from work, or even school, sit down and play the game. For VR, do you really want to like make sure there's enough room in the area?
Yeah.
And stay standing for a bit. Right. This is like, I don't know how to say it, but it's a toy, and it's a fun toy. It's a very interesting toy with a lot of potential and a huge huge amount of creativity can come from it. But at the moment, it's just there's nothing there.
Yeah, there's just nothing that would just support it. I mean, Half-Life Alyx support of that would be cool, but aside from that, I can't think of any other thing that would just make me be surprised. I'm just more surprised at the fact that more developers aren't jumping towards it. I feel like Sony is open the avenue, and same thing with Facebook. In their MetaQuest 2, they've opened the avenue for developers to come in and develop games, but we just have not seen it. Like there has been no like interest in just developing games. Granted, I understand why, because for a company to invest into a VR game, they have to understand what that tech is. They have to know how to use it properly, and on top of that, make a great game too, not just a regular good one. It has to be something great because as a new platform, you have to have something that brings people in.
Yeah, there's more pressure.
Yeah, and it's such a huge risk for these companies because that's so much money lost. If it only takes like one bad game to ruin a company too. Like they could easily go down, and instead of just making something that was just for consoles regularly. And it's high risk, high reward for sure. And I don't think a lot of people are ready for that, who don't have the support of Sony or Microsoft or
Yep.
Xbox in their back pocket specifically. So I don't believe there's going to be too many indie developers who aren't just genuinely passionate about VR who are going to get this going. And it's going to take something really great, like something really, really good.
I think it's going to take that, whatever that big VR eye catcher is, and a price cut.
Yeah.
They really don't want to admit it, but they need a price cut.
Mm-hmm.
I understand how much time and effort went into that technology, but it's not going to sell at that price.
Yeah, I'll say this. It's not even the most expensive headset either you can get, which is crazy to think about. And I really want to try like a really high-end one. I just know my PC wouldn't be able to run that.
No.
I'd have to like max it out.
That's probably something else they need to do too. Take what I said, the price and an eye-catching game. I think they also need to open that VR2 to be PC compatible. Because restricting yourself just to the system, that's going to not want people to try it even more.
Sony has had the biggest problem when it comes to having a footprint in the PC space. I understand Xbox is kind of dominating in that area right now with Game Pass and just, being so PC user friendly. But the fact that there's no PlayStation app for the PS or for the PC is astounding. That's insane to me. I get Sony has to, play a little bit more carefully, keeps their cards closer to the chest as far as, making really big decisions like that. But it's just like PC is just too involved and integrated in everything to not be on that platform.
Yep.
Don't get me wrong, they have games on there for sure, but it's just like there's no Sony, there's no PlayStation presence. This is literally like the whole cross-play debacle all over again. Xbox was like, yeah, cool. Nintendo was like, yeah, sure, whatever, just meet some of our demands. And then PC was like, yeah, whatever, we're already here, come join us. And then Sony was like, no, I'll wait a little bit for no reason. And then people were mad, people were upset, and it's just like, man.
It feels like anything Sony does, we have to bring a mob to them, or else they're not going to do it.
Right. And it's like, I get the support, I get the risks, it happens with these things, but it's just, I don't know. I feel like Sony just used to be a lot more braver back in the day than they are now. Like the mere fact that there's still no real compatibility options for old school PlayStation games is astounding. And you would think companies like this would want to reserve properties like that. There's old school games that people love to play, they'd pay money for. And worst come to worst, if they have to charge us, it's gonna suck for real to do that. But the fact that we just have the option to get it would be really awesome.
It's always better to have an option than no option.
Exactly.
And I don't know. Sony feels like they're taking the risk in the wrong directions, or they're just taking way too long to make decisions.
I'd rather have it, not need it, than to need it, not have it. Because boy, oh boy, they are putting themselves in a tight spot, and I guarantee you, it might take Microsoft a little while to catch up, maybe like 3-4 years. But once Bethesda starts putting out those games, and then Activision Blizzard deal goes through, and they put out their little exclusive titles that I'm sure Xbox is already working on in secret, Sony's gonna be looking real glum.
Yep, this is what happens when you've been on top for too long, and suddenly you're caught with your pants down.
Isn't that crazy that like every company's done this in some way, shape, or form? Like back in I think 2014, 2013, Xbox did it with the Xbox DRM and all this crap. And it's like, oh, you're going to have to buy a whole new game to share with your friends. And then Sony burned them, was like, oh, this is how PlayStation shares games, and just handed it over.
That's literally every generation. There's always that one guy who won the last one and has their nose up in the air. And when they realize, oh, we're fucking up, they have to backpedal so hard. It's crazy.
Even PS2, when they announced PS3, they were going to be like, yeah, you're gonna have to get a second job to afford this console. Everyone was like, wait, what?
Mm-hmm.
$699 for a PS3? You're nuts. There was no way.
Yup.
And that was before scalping was like a super huge problem like it was. Shoot.
It's crazy. Just history repeats itself, man.
It really does. And I don't know, for next gen that comes out, and I'm sure it's good maybe like 7-8 years away, but they're gonna have to fix that scalping problem at some point because I don't know if they're just gonna have to limit people. Take a picture, scan their ID or something. Well, that's kind of dangerous. Actually, they shouldn't do that, but they gotta do something.
It's gonna be an issue we'll have to tackle eventually. Just who
Right.
knows when it actually gets addressed.
Or like register a gamer tag or something that says like, okay, this guy bought one, he doesn't need anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But it's so intricate for just such a simple problem. But aside from that, I'm getting off topic. PSVR 2, they need titles and they need them bad. Because if not, then this is literally going to go the way of the Kinect.
Yep.
And they're going to be wasting money and time that they kind of don't already have, and they could have easily just put that towards more games.
Mm-hmm.
And as simple as it is, awesome exclusives will save you.
Yeah.
I mean, Sony's kind of already showed us like what having great exclusive does for a company, and it kind of works. Sorry, Microsoft, but you got deep pockets, and they're starting to learn.
Yep.
They're buying up studios. They're buying the right studios, and they're coming. They're coming hard. It might take them a minute, but they're coming for sure, without a doubt.
Yes, I'm confident. I keep telling you. I think Xbox is going to win this generation. It's just going to be a slow and steady race instead of like a start boost.
Mm-hmm.